All right, I'm going to take a second here to talk a little bit about a Washington Post article that I found in my usual, well, how should we put it, Twitter rage search. Probably a pretty good way to do it. Don't we go on to Twitter looking for something to just upset us? Something to kind of get us going. It usually gets my juices flowing a little bit. And so, well, hey, I stumbled on one. And it's a good one. So this article, and I'll link it below, was basically saying that the new tax plan, today is November the 26th, 2017, the new proposed tax plan by President Trump is going to be really, really wrong and bad for teachers. Now, I work in the profession. I'm a teacher. I teach junior high kids. And the thing the author of the article is referring to is that with the new tax plan, there's going to be less. Well, they're getting rid of a lot of these little bitty deduction type things because they're a pain in the butt. You want to, well, actually save some money and not ship it off to the government. You have to spend all your time keeping receipts and itemizing your deductions. So the thing that the author of the article in the Washington Post was complaining about was the fact that under the new plan, there's a $250 credit per year for teachers to use for supplies for the classroom. That is not going to be there anymore. I'm good with that. I don't like all these little fiddly things in the tax code that make it even more complicated and difficult to figure out than it already is. I've loathed doing taxes ever since I had to file for the first time, and they became increasingly complex as, well, you've seen some of my other videos on the channel. I've got a lot of trading videos as I became more and more involved in trading, and it's ridiculous how much extra work you have to put in just to show the government that you're really paying your fair share and doing the right thing, so they don't come and take you away and throw you in jail for not paying your taxes. Or charge you ridiculous interest rates. It's the first thing they do. You know, these guys are like the Gestapo. They want to lean on you. All right, well, anyways. So that tax credit would be going away. $250 a year that I don't get to use. Why am I okay with that? Well, here's why. Everybody under the new tax plan in that same tax bracket, I'm using the average annual salary of a teacher in the United States at $57,000. That's way more than I make, by the way. And that puts the typical teacher right in the middle of the middle class tax bracket. That will still stay at the 25% rate. But what's going to change is, even if you're a teacher, yeah, you lose that $250, but you don't get anyways, because unless you itemize your deductions and have a big mortgage or had big medical expenses, something like that, you don't bother because the standard deduction is plenty large anyways. This tax plan is actually, or at least how it's going to affect me, is actually quite nice. Never thought I'd say that about taxes. I do a separate video on taxes at some point. The concept behind it is quite insidious. But got to deal with the situation, the actual reality that we have. So the reality is that most people don't bother to itemize their deductions because they don't stand to save any over the standard deduction. So you make a choice when you're filing your taxes. You either list all your expenses, list all the extra things that the government, your mom, I almost said your mom, the things that the government let you deduct and then not pay to the government because this, that, and the other reason somebody lobbies for you, basically. And so if I want, under the current plan, not the one that's proposed, under the current plan, if I want, I could go buy $250 worth of whiteboard markers and paper and stuff that I could justify for myself and then write it off on my taxes. However, in that situation, I don't get any money back. because I don't have enough deductions to itemize. It's a huge illusion. It's a complete myth. Very few teachers take advantage of this. In order to take advantage of it, you've got to have some other large items in your tax return that are going to make it worth your time to actually itemize your deductions. What this new tax plan, the one that President Trump is proposing, will do is, instead of having all those little fiddly things, yes, they are going away. I'm going to lose the $250 that I never would ever get a chance to itemize and get back for myself. So I'm really losing nothing. Instead of that, the standard deduction is increasing. That means without having to do anything, you just fill out your tax form. You put in, your usual boxes from your W-2. You fill out a few lines, and you're going to get more money back. The standard deduction, all people in the middle class, not just teachers, anyone in that middle class 25% tax bracket will benefit from the new standard deduction. It's going from what was $6,000. You used to just be able to deduct $6,000 without doing the thing. That's going up to $12,000. That's outstanding. It's simpler. And it saves me more money. And disingenuous people like this Washington Post article author are purposely bending and twisting the facts. The article reads, the headline is, well, I need it in front of me, but the gist of it was, $2 billion tax increase hidden, sneaky Republicans trying to pull the wool over your eyes. How do they come up with that $2 billion figure? I mean, the article literally was titled, "A secret Republican tax plan will increase taxes on teachers by $2 billion. How do they get that $2 billion figure? Well, $250, which most teachers don't use, times the number of teachers in the country. That's how they got $2 billion. Completely rude and disingenuous. This person is trying to pull the wool over your eyes. That's not the reality. Now, if they want to use that number, it's fine, but you got to go through and you have to say something like, okay, well, it's $250 for teachers, not times every single teacher in America. It's got to be $250 times the number of teachers that own a home, because people that own a home are more likely to itemize their deductions, times a certain percent of people that actually bother to itemize their deductions, and then still times the number of people that, even though they itemize their deduction, end up having to take the standard deduction anyways, because they really didn't have enough to write off. And I'm getting tired of the hidden, these progressives trying to hide the spin. They start off with a conclusion, and then they create whatever premise they need. It's not the way this game works. Don't let news organizations like the Washington Post pull the wool over your eyes. Stop and think while you read, and expect that someone else will have an agenda. Then go looking for it, and you won't be surprised when you find it.